This was our question, that we have to calculate current in the circuit in three cases: when the galvanometer resistance is 60 ohm, current when this Rs is very small resistance 0.02 ohm is connected in parallel, and third case is the ideal case when this becomes 0. So that means effective current of the galvanometer is also 0. So let us solve this problem. So here is our circuit. In this circuit, this resistance itself is 3 ohm and this is ammeter. This is ammeter and it is connected to the battery of 3 volt. So now we have to calculate what is the current flowing in this resistance. So in first case, when galvanometer is attached with 60 ohm resistance, that means this ammeter has 60 ohm resistance. So if you see, so we have 3 ohm and then in series we have 60 ohm. So total resistance is this galvanometer resistance plus resistance of this. So 63 ohm, 60 plus 3, 63 ohm. What would be the current? So from V is equal to IR. So we have I is equal to V upon R. From this formula, I is equal to 3 volt upon 63 ohm. We have a current 0.048 ampere. So this is when galvanometer has its original resistance, which is 60 ohm. Now second case, when a very small resistance is connected to the galvanometer to convert it into an proper ammeter. Previously it was only galvanometer, now it is a proper ammeter. So now let us see what would be the resistance. So in that case, first we have to calculate this resistance, that what would be the new resistance of this galvanometer and that shunt. So let us calculate that. So since this galvanometer and this are in parallel, that means 1 upon Rg plus 1 upon Rs. So this was the formula. If we solve Rg, Rs and this is Rg plus Rs. This is 1 by Rp. So what is Rp? Rp is Rg Rs divided by Rg plus Rs. But here we can see that Rg is 60 ohm but Rs is very small. So we can neglect this Rs. So neglecting it, so what we remaining with? Parallel resistance Rp is equal to Rg Rs upon Rg. Then again Rg is also cancelled out. This is nearly equal to Rs. So what will we get in that case? So let us solve this. What will we get in that case? So here you see, so parallel resistance comes out to be nearly equal to small resistance. So now what is the total resistance of circuit? This 0.02 ohm plus 3 ohm, that means 3.02 ohm. And again from formula V is equal to IR, I is equal to 3 upon 3.02, that means 0.99 ampere. Now the third ideal case, when we consider there is no resistance of the galvanometer. In that case, this ammeter will have 0 resistance, so total resistance is 3 ohm. This will become 0. So I is equal to 3 by 3, that means 1 ampere. If you see, one interesting thing is that if we directly connected the galvanometer, the difference in the current is very large. Ideally the current is 1 ampere and with small shunt resistance we are getting 0.99 ampere. So there is very less difference, less than 1%, only 1%, but here it is very inaccurate. That's why it is always useful to connect galvanometer with a parallel shunt resistance to convert it to ammeter. So with this chapter has been ended. We have completed 4 chapter and now we will start chapter 5. Please read this chapter properly, because it is very important chapter and many questions are very important and they will come in the exams. Next chapter is chapter 5, magnetism and matter. So in this chapter we will understand how the magnetism occurs in different type of materials. So that we will understand in this chapter. Now let us understand some of this introduction. Magnetic phenomena are universal in nature, so that you know, vast distance galaxy, tiny visible atoms, human and beasts all are permeated through and through with a host of magnetic fields of a variety of sources. The Earth's magnetism predates human evolution. So Earth magnetism is existed before the humans. The word magnet is derived from the name of an island in Greece called Magnesia, where magnetic ore deposits were found. So this is derived from this word Magnesia. As early as 600 BC, shepherds on this island complained about their wooden shoes, which had nails at times stayed stuck on the ground. So the nails in the shoes struck to the ground. Their iron-tipped rod were similarly affected. This attractive property of magnets made it difficult for them to move around. So you know, if you are wearing something from metal and you try to walk something on magnetic, so it would be difficult. The directional property of magnets were also known since the ancient times. A thin long piece of magnet when suspended freely point in the north-south direction, that you also know. A similar effect was observed when it was placed on a piece of cork was then allowed to float in water. The name of lodestone or lodestone given to the naturally occurring ore of iron magnetite means leading stone. So this will lead towards the north south direction. That's why it is called lodestone. The technological exploitation of this property is generally credited to Chinese. So Chinese exploited or Chinese explored this technology. Chinese texts dating 400 BC, that means quite old, mention the use of magnetic needles for navigation on ships. Caravans crossing the Gobi Desert also mentioned or employed magnetic needles. So this was quite old phenomena to use magnets in determining the directions. A Chinese legend narrates the tale of the victory of Emperor Huang Ti about 4000 years ago, which he owed for his craftsmen, whom nowadays you would call engineers. So at that time they were called craftsmen. These engineers built a chariot on which they placed a magnetic figure. So here you can see on the chariot there is a magnetic figure with arms outstretched. So one arm is outstretched. Figure 5.1 is an artist's description of this chariot. The figure swiveled around so that the finger of the statue on it always pointed south. So figure of this statue will always point in the south. So you definitely know now that if this figure has some north pole, so it will always direct towards the south direction. With this chariot, Huang Ti's troops were able to attack the enemy from the rear in thick fog. So again, in thick fog they were able to attack on the enemies because they know the directions, but others were unable to see the direction in thick fog and to defeat them. In the last chapter, we have learned that moving charges and electric currents produce magnetic fields. So that we know from the last chapter that this moving charges and electric currents produce magnetic fields. This discovery was made in early part of the 19th century, is credited to Oersted, Ampere and Biot-Savarts among others. So these were the names that we have learned in the last chapter: Oersted, Ampere, Biot-Savarts and others. Now in this chapter we will take a look at magnetism as a subject on its own. Previously we took the magnetism, we look at this topic as the currents were generating the magnetism. Now we will look magnetism on its own. Now some of the important properties. Some of the commonly known ideas regarding magnetisms are: the earth behaves as a magnet, that you know, with magnetic field pointing approximately from geographic south to north. This is one important thing, that earth's north and south are opposite to magnetic north and south. When a bar magnet is freely suspended, it points in north-south direction. The tip of which points to the geographic north is called the North Pole, and the tip which points toward the geographic south is called South Pole of the magnet. There is a repulsive force when North Pole or South poles of two magnets are brought close together. So you know, same pole repels and opposite poles attract. Conversely, there is an attractive force between North Pole and South Pole of the magnet. We cannot isolate north and south pole of a magnet, that we know, we cannot separate. If a bar magnet is broken into two halves, we get two similar bar magnets with somewhat weaker properties. Unlike electric charges, isolated magnetic north and south poles known as magnetic monopoles. So north and south poles known as magnetic monopoles do not exist, but in electric system, electric charges, positive and negative charges, exist separately. It is possible to make magnets out of iron and its alloys. So these are some of the properties related to magnetism.